the quiet table, the loud voice. The night had started gently. Soft jazz played in the background, and the golden glow from the hanging lamps made the restaurant feel warm, private, like a little world tucked away from everything outside. Keanu. Reeves sat across from Ana de Armas, his expression calm, relaxed, a rare smile at the corners of his lips. They were not a couple. Not in the way the world liked to think. But their bond was real, formed through years of work, long hours on set and shared stories behind trailers. They trusted each other, respected each other. And tonight, they had finally found a gap in their busy lives to share a quiet meal. Ana laughed softly at something Keanu had said, wiping a tear from the corner of her eye. She didn't wear makeup that night. Not much anyway. Her hair was loosely tied, her dress simple, and her voice even softer than usual. It was clear to anyone watching that this was not a publicity stunt, not a red carpet event. Just two human beings enjoying each other's company until the man walked in. No one paid much attention at first. Restaurants in Los Angeles always had visitors coming and going. The man was tall, dressed sharp, but his eyes carried something bitter, something proud and ugly. He was seated just a few tables away. His voice broke the calm of the place like a knife across silk. "You think you're better than us now?" he sneered aloud, not even trying to whisper. Sitting here with him, pretending to be some goddess. Ana froze mid-sentence. Her fork slipped slightly from her hand. Keanu's eyes did not move from her face. He didn't look at the man. Not yet. The room grew quiet. The staff paused. The other guests stiffened in their seats, unsure if they had heard correctly. The man went on, his voice growing louder, his words heavier with resentment. "You Cuban girls always act like you're too good for the rest of us once you get a little fame. I saw you in that last film. Terrible acting. Can't believe people call you a star." Ana didn't move, didn't speak, but her lips trembled. The warmth from earlier drained from her face. Keanu looked at her carefully. He saw it, the tiny shift in her shoulders, the way her fingers curled under the table, gripping her own hand. She was hurt, not just by the words, but by the fact that no one, not a single person, had stood up. Everyone had frozen. Everyone had chosen silence, except him. He stood, slowly, deliberately, not with anger, not with speed. His movements were calm, almost silent. Yet somehow, the air changed around him. People turned their heads. The man smirked. "Look who it is. The silent monk himself. What are you gonna do? Say nothing like you always do?" Keanu looked at him, just once. A long, thoughtful glance. Then he turned back to Ana. "Come," he said, voice low, barely above a whisper. "Let's leave this place behind." Ana stood too. Her legs felt shaky, but when he placed his hand gently on her back, she found strength. Together, they walked toward the exit. And then, just as they reached the door, Keanu turned back. Everyone held their breath. The stranger's smirk deepened, and Keanu, soft-spoken, gentle Keanu, said only this: "Some people shout to feel important. But silence has more power than their loudest insult." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His words hung in the air like smoke. Impossible to grab, impossible to forget. The room stayed still as they left. And the man, suddenly, had nothing more to say. But outside the restaurant, something unexpected happened. A young woman, someone none of them knew, followed them out. "Sir," she said, eyes wide, holding her phone. I recorded everything. I didn't mean to, but people should know what happened." Keanu looked at her, kindly, gently. He thought for a moment, then he said, "Only if it helps someone choose kindness over cruelty." She nodded, and by the time the sun rose the next morning, the video had already begun to spread. But this wasn't the beginning of a scandal. It was the beginning of something else, something that would echo far beyond that quiet dinner. And that man, the one who raised his voice, had no idea what storm he had just started. A voice louder than hate. The video spread faster than anyone expected. No flashy title, no loud music, just a shaky clip, 32 seconds long, filmed on a quiet night by a woman whose hands still trembled as she uploaded it. The sound was clear. The words sharp. The voice of the stranger, full of venom. And then Keanu's soft reply, calm and unshaken. Some people shout to feel important, but silence has more power than their loudest insult. That was all. No pushing, no fighting. Just words. Yet those words, spoken gently, cut deeper than any shout could. By morning, the clip was everywhere. News outlets picked it up. Social media was flooded with reactions. People shared it with captions like, "This is what grace looks like, and the world needs more Keanus." Ana de Armas hadn't said anything, not yet, but the look on her face, the quiet pain, the held-back tears, that look haunted people. Everyone had seen someone like her before. Someone sitting still, swallowing hurt in silence. And everyone had wished, at least once in their life, for someone like Keanu to stand beside them. The restaurant's name was leaked within hours. The owner released a statement, apologizing. He said he hadn't heard the insults, that he would have acted if he had, but people didn't care for his words. They remembered his silence. The stranger in the video. His identity was uncovered too. A former agent. Someone who had worked in Hollywood's background for years. His face was now everywhere. But not in glory. He was being dragged through every digital street. Meanwhile, Keanu remained quiet. He didn't post anything. He didn't tweet. He didn't release a statement. Instead, he made tea for Ana at his home. She sat curled on his couch, a blanket over her knees. Her eyes stared ahead, unfocused, as the world outside buzzed with attention. "I didn't think it would matter," she said softly. "I've been insulted before. I've heard worse." Keanu handed her the tea. But this time someone saw it. Ana looked at him. "You mean the girl?" "No," he said. "I mean the world." She tried to smile, but her eyes shimmered. "I just wanted a quiet dinner," she whispered. "And you deserved one," he replied. There was a knock at the door. Neither of them moved at first. "Press?" Ana asked. "Likely," Keanu said. "Or flowers." It turned out to be both, a bouquet with a card that read, "You stood for every woman who couldn't." And 3 reporters camped outside his driveway. He didn't answer the door again. Instead, he picked up his phone and called a friend. Someone in media who still respected privacy. "Tell them we're not giving statements," he said. "And please, protect the girl who filmed it. She didn't ask for this storm." Later that evening, Keanu checked online, not for news, not for gossip, but to see how people were reacting, and what he saw surprised him. There were women from different countries posting their own stories, stories of being silenced at work, insulted in public, hurt in private. And each of them ended their posts with the same line. "Some people shout to feel important, but silence has more power than their loudest insult." It was becoming more than just a quote. It was a quiet rebellion. Ana watched some of those posts with him. Her expression slowly changed. Not quite a smile yet, but softer, lighter. "I never wanted to be part of a movement," she said. "You didn't choose it," Keanu said. "It chose you." By the next day, a peaceful protest had formed outside the restaurant. No shouting, no signs. Just people sitting quietly with candles, holding hands. Keanu and Ana watched it on a live stream. "They're calling it the silent sit," Ana said, reading comments. "This is wild." Keanu nodded. "Sometimes silence is louder than a scream." But not everyone was silent. The man from the restaurant, the stranger, decided to speak up. A live video. His face defensive, his tone bitter. "This has gone too far," he said. I made a joke. She overreacted. He used it for attention. The comments didn't agree. They called him out, not just for the words, but for the lack of remorse. He ended the video early. Keanu shook his head. "He still doesn't get it," Ana whispered. "He won't." And she was right. This wasn't about him anymore. This was about what happened after. And what would come next would go far beyond a dinner table, far beyond Hollywood, and far beyond anything Keanu had expected. The echo of kindness. 3 days had passed since the video was uploaded. Keanu Reeves hadn't left his house, not because he was hiding, but because he didn't want to feed the fire. He never chased the spotlight. He believed in letting things breathe, letting people think. Ana de Armas stayed close too. She canceled a few public events, not out of fear, but to protect her peace. She was tired of explaining why she had remained quiet at that table, tired of answering why she hadn't spoken back to the man. She didn't owe the world a performance of her pain, but what surprised both of them was how the world refused to let the moment fade. The phrase Keanu had spoken, those few soft words, had spread beyond Hollywood. Teachers were writing it on classroom boards. Students were painting it on murals. A college debate team in New York opened their national championship with it. It had become a quiet symbol for dignity, for restraint, for strength that doesn't shout. And then came something neither Keanu nor Ana saw coming. A letter, handwritten, delivered by courier. Ana opened it first, her fingers shaking slightly. It was from a girl named Layla, 17 years old, from Jordan. The letter was simple. Her English wasn't perfect, but her feelings were clear. I watched the video. The man reminded me of my uncle. He always says women should not speak. I watched you sit still and I cried. But then he spoke, Keanu, and I cried again, but this time it was hope. Thank you. I want to be like that. Maybe not loud, but strong. Thank you. Ana read the letter twice, then a third time. By the fourth, she couldn't stop the tears. Keanu sat beside her, reading over her shoulder in silence. When she looked up at him, her voice barely made it out. She said she felt hope. Because of you. He shook his head slowly. Because of us. That night, Ana posted her first public message since the video. Not on a big platform, not through a manager. Just a simple story on her account with Layla's letter. She didn't tag anyone. Didn't mention the man. She just wrote, "This letter made me cry. Thank you, Layla. I see you. I hear you. Stay strong." Millions shared it within hours. Soon, other letters followed. From countries neither of them had ever visited. From girls, women, even men, all sharing personal stories of silence, survival, and strength. Keanu read them slowly, carefully, one by one. He didn't respond to any publicly. But inside, something deep was stirring. He wasn't used to being the center of something this emotional. He had seen pain. He had felt loss. But this was different. This was healing, and he was a part of it, even without trying to be. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Keanu stood on his balcony and asked Ana a question that had been building in his mind. What if we did something with this? Ana turned toward him. Like what? I don't know yet, he said, but something real. Something that doesn't fade like a trending video. Something that stays. She thought for a moment. A place where people who've been silenced can speak? Keanu nodded. Or where they don't have to speak at all. Where they're just seen. The idea was born without a name. Just a shared feeling. They reached out to a quiet foundation Keanu had supported for years. One that worked with survivors of emotional abuse, harassment, and public shaming. They didn't announce anything. They just asked, What can we do quietly, but powerfully? The Foundation's director, a gentle woman, named Elsa, met with them over tea. What you already did, she said, was powerful. But if you're serious about continuing it, we can help you build a program. Keanu leaned forward. No spotlight, no press tours, just help. And hope, Ana added. So they began planning. They called it the Echo Project. A soft name, but meaningful. Its purpose was simple, to support those who had been silenced, not with anger, but with attention. Not by shouting, but by listening. It offered therapy, community spaces, and small grants for people recovering from emotional damage caused by public cruelty. No one expected what would happen next. A young journalist discovered the project's early development. She had followed the dinner video story closely and wanted to interview Keanu and Ana. They refused at first, but then she sent them a message. You gave people their voice back. Let me help them hear yours. They agreed. The interview was filmed in a quiet garden with no makeup crew, no studio lights, just one camera, one reporter, and two friends sitting on a wooden bench. Ana spoke first. Her voice clear, calm. What hurt me most wasn't the words. It was the silence around me. Keanu nodded beside her. We've all seen someone get hurt and stayed quiet. I've done it too. But this time, I couldn't. The journalist asked if they were angry. Keanu looked away for a second, then said, No, I'm not angry. But I'm tired. Tired of cruelty being normal. The video went viral in less than an hour. But this time, the world didn't react with noise. People lit candles. People sat quietly in front of town halls, schools, even online. Silent live streams filled with hearts and no sound. The Echo Project website crashed from traffic, and the man from the restaurant, he was offered a chance to speak again on a talk show. He declined. He finally understood what it felt like to be truly, painfully silent. The weight of silence. The Echo Project was never meant to be famous. Keanu Reeves didn't want cameras. Ana de Armas didn't want applause. They wanted something lasting, something quiet, steady, like a hand resting gently on someone's back, letting them know they were not alone. Yet fame has its own plans. Within 2 weeks, the project had grown faster than anyone expected. Hundreds of volunteers signed up. Therapists from around the world offered their time for free. Schools reached out, asking for guidance on emotional safety and respectful behavior. Companies began quoting the Echo Project in their workplace. Policies. A few celebrities even posted supportive messages. But none tried to hijack the moment. They respected the tone, gentle, humble, human. But not everything stayed kind. One morning, Ana sat by the kitchen window, staring at a letter. In her hand, her face was pale, her lips tight. Keanu walked in with 2 mugs of coffee. He handed one to her before noticing her expression. What is it? He asked. Ana didn't speak for a long moment. Then she handed him the letter. Typed, unsigned. You think silence is strength? You think walking away makes you brave? I've seen real pain. You're just a spoiled actress. You deserve to be put in your place. Keanu read it once, then again. He folded it carefully and placed it under his coffee mug, like it was nothing but a napkin. Ana watched him, her voice cracking. Why would someone write that? After everything? Keanu didn't answer right away. Instead, he sat beside her and placed a hand on her shoulder. Because not everyone heals at the same time, he said. Some people are still trapped in their anger. Ana looked down. But it still hurts. Yes, he whispered. It does. For the first time since the dinner incident, she broke down. Not on camera. Not online. Just there. In that quiet kitchen, with Keanu holding her. Neither of them saying much because there was nothing to say. Later that day, Keanu did something. He rarely did. He wrote a letter back. Not to the person who had sent the hate mail, But to anyone out there who still felt unheard, he posted it on the Echo Project's website. It said, "To anyone carrying hurt, I see you. Maybe the world didn't hear you when you needed it most. Maybe silence wasn't your choice, but something forced upon you. I don't know your story, but I do know this. You matter. Your pain matters. And when you're ready, we'll be here." Within minutes, the letter was shared by thousands. A teacher in Brazil printed it and taped it to her classroom wall. Hospital in Germany placed it in the waiting area for survivors. An orphanage in India translated it into 3 languages. The ripple effect was real. But with growth came tension. A media company reached out, offering millions to turn the dinner incident into a documentary. They promised full creative control, a respectful tone. Awards, maybe. Keanu said no. So did Ana. But pressure built. People began asking, why won't they speak more? Why won't they use their voice now that they have it? Some accused them of hiding. Others said they were afraid of debate. One talk. Show host even called them the silent stars in a mocking tone. And still, they said nothing. Because silence wasn't weakness. It was choice. But one night, Ana came to Keanu's house with a new kind of energy in her eyes. "Maybe we should speak," she said. "Not for the cameras, not for the headlines, but for the people who are confused." Keanu listened. She went on. "They think silence means ignoring the world. But it doesn't. It means listening to it." He nodded slowly. "So we listen. First, then speak." Together they wrote an open letter, not for news sites, not for morning shows. They posted it on a quiet blog page under the Echo Project. It read, "We are not saints. We are not experts. We are people who saw something wrong and didn't look away. We stayed silent because words can wound as much as they heal. But now we want to share this. You are allowed to feel pain. You are allowed to cry. But you are also allowed to rise, and you don't have to do it loudly. You don't have to shout. You just have to keep walking." The letter was simple, but its effect wasn't. People began sharing stories again. A school janitor from Argentina wrote how she had once been humiliated by students but had no one to turn to. Now, after reading the letter, she joined a local support group. A retired soldier from Canada admitted he hadn't spoken to his family in 10 years. He sent them the letter. They called the same night. The echo was growing stronger, not louder, just deeper. But then something changed. A government agency from Europe reached out. They wanted to adopt the Echo Project's message into their national education system. Keanu and Ana were stunned. Ana whispered, "This was just dinner." Keanu replied, "But it became more." And they weren't done yet. The world was listening, and soon the people who once mocked their silence would learn just how loud kindness can become. When the world listened, the first classroom to officially adopt the Echo Project's teaching material was in a small town outside Lisbon. The teacher, a soft-spoken woman named Sophia, had been following the story since the night of the dinner incident. She showed the video to her students not for drama, but for discussion. They were 12 and 13, a difficult age. Quick to laugh, quick to judge. But something in Keanu's quiet voice caught them off guard. After the video played, the DRDD room was silent. Sophia asked them gently, "What did you feel?" A boy in the back raised his hand. "I think maybe silence isn't weakness." Another girl said, "The way Ana just sat there, it made me think of my mom. She stays quiet. When my dad gets angry." Sophia didn't speak for a while. She let the silence fill the space, and that silence, for the first time, felt safe. Meanwhile, Keanu and Ana had no idea that a ripple had reached Lisbon. They were sitting across from Elsa, the director of the Echo Project, in a quiet office surrounded by soft lamps and stacks of handwritten letters. "We've been asked to speak at the United Nations," Elsa said carefully. Ana blinked. "What?" It's not official yet, Elsa added. But the invitation is coming. They want you both to talk about emotional dignity, about how silence, when used with purpose, can be power. Keanu leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. That's not what we were aiming for, he said. I know, Elsa replied. But it's what happened. Keanu looked over at Ana. Her fingers were curled around the edge of her chair. Do you want to? He asked. No, she said immediately, then paused. But maybe we need to. He nodded. We'll go, Ana said softly. But not to speak for everyone, just to tell the truth. And so they did. On the day of the speech, the hall was filled with delegates, educators, mental health experts, and students from around the world. The video of the restaurant incident had already been shown on the big screen. Everyone knew the moment. They just didn't know the people behind it. Ana went first. She wore no makeup. Her dress was simple, her voice low and clear. I was insulted in public. It hurt. Not because it was loud, but because no one stopped it. We've all seen moments like that, when someone is being attacked and the room just goes quiet. But sometimes silence is a wound, and sometimes, like Keanu showed me, silence can also be a shield. She paused. The room stayed still. Then Keanu stood. He didn't have notes. Just a folded piece of paper with one sentence written on it. Be the pause between pain and reaction. He placed the paper down and looked at the audience. When I stood up that night, he said, I didn't have a speech in mind. I didn't plan a quote. I just knew that someone I cared about was being hurt, and I had a choice. To add to the noise or to stop it. A long breath. What I said wasn't powerful because it was clever. It was powerful because it wasn't cruel. He looked down for a moment. We don't have to match hate with hate. We don't have to raise our voices to be heard. Sometimes the quietest act of courage is choosing kindness. He stepped back. The room did not erupt in applause. It didn't need to. Instead, everyone stood, not clapping wildly, but in silent respect. And from that moment, the Echo Project was no longer just a movement. It was a message woven into the hearts of people across the world. The United Nations passed a resolution that day, a new global education initiative focused on emotional respect and response. They called it the Pause Principle. Back home, Keanu and Ana sat in his backyard, sipping tea as the sun went down. I never imagined any of this, Ana whispered. Me neither, Keanu replied. I just wanted dinner. She laughed, a sound she hadn't made in days. But their peace didn't last long. A lawyer contacted Elsa. The man who had insulted Ana, the stranger, was threatening to sue for emotional distress. He claimed the video ruined his life. He blamed the girl who filmed it. He blamed the Echo Project. Keanu and Ana didn't react with panic. They met with Elsa in the same office as before. Do we respond? Ana asked. Elsa shook her head. Only if you want to. Keanu said nothing for a long time. Then, finally, he whispered, We stay silent. Ana looked confused. Not because we're afraid, Keanu explained, but because some people feed off chaos. We won't give him that. And they didn't. The man filed a case. It was dismissed by the court within days. The judge's ruling was simple. Public accountability is not defamation. That night, the girl who filmed the video, her name was Maya, visited the Echo Project office for the first time. She was 24, nervous and holding a small box. I just wanted to say thank you, she said, setting the box on the table. Inside was a simple frame. Within it was a printed message. You changed the world just by pressing record. Ana hugged her. Keanu smiled. And for the first time since that dinner, there was a feeling not just of survival, but of something bigger, of quiet triumph. And the world once again listened, not with noise but with care. The final silence, 6 months had passed. The video was no longer trending. The headlines had moved on, but the echo hadn't faded. Across cities and small towns, people still gathered, not to protest, not to chant, but to sit in silence. They called them echo circles. Strangers met in parks, schools, libraries, and living rooms. They sat with candles or empty chairs, listening to each other without judgment. Sometimes no one even spoke. Sometimes tears were enough. The message was simple: you matter, your voice matters, and if you're not ready to speak, we'll wait. Keanu Reeves had returned to his quiet life. No new roles, no interviews. He spent his days walking through bookstores, visiting motorbike shops, and writing letters to people who had reached out. Through the Echo Project, Ana de Armas took a small break from acting. She traveled, not for press tours, but to meet some of the people who had sent her letters. Layla, the girl from Jordan, was one of them. They met in a sunlit cafe. No cameras, no translators. Just two women, sitting together, hands folded over. Tea. "I never imagined I'd meet you," Layla said. "I never imagined I'd need you," Ana replied, and then they cried. Not out of sadness, but out of something deeper. Recognition. The man who had started it all had disappeared from the public eye. His voice, once loud and cruel, was now buried under the weight of his own silence. No one chased him. No one punished him. He simply became irrelevant, replaced by a better story. And yet for Keanu, the story still wasn't over. One rainy evening, he stood outside the Echo Center in Los Angeles. The building was small, built from recycled wood and glass, surrounded by native trees and a quiet garden. There was no billboard, just a single stone at the entrance with a simple phrase engraved, "Kindness doesn't shout." Inside, a group session had just ended. People were filing out, some smiling, some tearful. A young man stopped near the door and looked up at Keanu. "You don't know me," the man said, "but I was like him once." Keanu nodded. "Him?" "The one at the restaurant," the man said. "I used to be angry, loud. I thought it made me strong, but it just made me alone." Keanu placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone now." The man nodded, eyes wet. "Thanks for not fighting him. Thanks for just showing another way." After he left, Keanu went into the center. In the hallway, he found a wall lined with hundreds of handwritten notes. Some were stories of abuse. Some were messages of hope. Others were just one line: "I am healing. I see you. Thank you for waiting." He walked past them slowly, reading each one. And when he reached the end of the hall, he found a note that hadn't been there before. Written in a child's handwriting, taped quietly to the wall. "My mom said silence is scary, but now she says it's safe. Thank you." Keanu read it. Again and again, outside, rain tapped gently on the glass. The sky was soft and gray. People were walking home, holding umbrellas, their faces calm. Ana arrived just before closing. She wore a warm coat and carried 2 cups of tea. "Thought you'd still be here," she said. "Couldn't sleep," he replied. They sat on the front steps of the center, tea steaming in the quiet air. "Do you think it'll last?" she asked. "What?" "This, the silence, the kindness." Keanu took a sip, watching raindrops roll down the garden leaves. "I think," he said slowly, "that kindness lives in moments. And if we can protect just one of those moments, we've already changed the world." Ana smiled. "We never even said his name." "We didn't have to," Keanu said. "The story was never about him." They sat there in silence, the peaceful, kind, and somewhere, miles away, a teacher drew a circle on a chalkboard and wrote inside it, "Use your silence to protect, not to hide." A mother hugged her child tighter after reading an echo letter. A man who had never apologized finally picked up the phone, and a girl who once sat frozen at a dinner table now stood in front of a mirror, whispering to herself, I deserve peace. Because the story had moved on, but the echo remained. Not loud, not angry, just strong, just kind, just human.